I'd like to begin tonight's post by stating that my coworker's mother just had an exorcism done at her house. And the exorcism was performed by her sister and her brother-in-law, who are both pastors, but not priests. Here's the situation. My coworker's father died almost 3 years ago. He was in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's disease and became very violent toward the end, prior to his death. The mother, only being 65 years old, thinks it inappropriate to live the rest of her life alone, and because it is till death do us part, you think it'd be okay. And so has started meeting men in the church group. Now, since this occurrence has begun happening, strange occurrences have begun happening around our home. On Sunday night, after talking to a gentleman caller at the church service, the mother went home, went to bed, was awoken during the night by and keeping in mind she lives alone, the presence that someone was there, and then could physically feel the bed next to her lower down as if someone were getting into it, and then felt an arm reach across her body, as in like a cuddle position, and then felt fingernails digging into the back of her hand. And she said, Ronnie, who apparently was the father's name or her late husband's name, she said, Ronnie, stop it. You're hurting me. And then she felt the bed lift as if he were to get up. She herself got up. And then said, you are dead. You need to leave me alone. And he said, I'm not dead, and recognized the voice as being her late husband's. And she said it again. I buried you. You need to leave me alone. And he said, the hell you did. And then she just screamed, get out of here, and heard the door close behind him as he left. These types of occurrences have happened several times in the last couple of months. So I think they're kind of fun. I think it's really funny that that her sister and her brother-in-law came over and anointed, when I say exorcism, they just really anointed the house with some oils and some prayers. So, Nick and I's cousin, who is really well read on these types of occurrences, says it's fairly common for people who are confused at death to come back to haunt. So, let's discuss. Now, the next thing we will discuss is 842 Book Club. I noticed that Lindsay, I do not recall the title of it, she had shown us, she said she was not having time for her reading because of the channel, because of her postings. So I'm hoping that she has been able to have more reading time. I'm curious to know what her book's about. Nick, of course, we're looking forward to your reading of Goodnight iPad. We each have our own individual books that we're reading. And I myself am reading, and Nick, you may or may not recall the author that I've recommended so many times because he's hilarious. I'm going to do a short excerpt. Christopher Moore, titled Fluke, or I Know Why the Winged Whale Sings. I'm not even going to give any preface to the story because it's kind of obvious. People out on a whaling boat. They spotted a female trying to evade the advances of two giant males. The right whale is one of the few animals in the world that uses a washout strategy for mating. That is, the females mate with several males, but the one who can wash out the other's seed most efficiently will pass his genes to the next generation. Consequently, the guy with the largest tackle often wins. The male right whales have the biggest tackle in the world, with testes that weigh up to a ton and 10-foot penises that are not only long but prehensile, able to reach around a female from the side and introduce themselves to the sky. Skipping a couple of chapters. 2 females on a boat studying the behaviors of whales is what is going on here. Suddenly, out of the water on either side of them came 2 huge penises. The males searching for their mark, moving closer to the female, producing waves that knocked the women to the floor of the boat. Above them, 2 pink towers curved around, looking for their target. Feeling the edges of the boat, running slime across the rubber, over the biologists, poking, beating about, and generally abusing the women. The female now had the zodiac centered exactly over her genitals, the zodiac being a boat, using the rubber boat as her ad hoc diaphragm. Then the 2 giant whale willies encountered one another in the middle of the zodiac. Again, that's the boat. And each evidently thinking the other had found its target and not wanting to be left out, they let loose with great gushing gouts of sticky whale semen, filling the boat, covering the equipment, the scientists, washing the gunwale, swamping the motor, generally leaving everything but the gal whale completely and disgustingly jizzed. Mission accomplished. Off they swam to strain a little post-coital krill. Margaret suffered a concussion and a partially detached retina. Libby a dislocated shoulder and various scrapes and bruises, but the real trauma could not be fixed with snaps, slings, or Benadine. That is the book I'm currently reading. If anybody else would like to have or look up Christopher Moore, I have all of his publishings. Again, Nick, I don't think you should read Lamb, but I do have other, like A Dirty Job, I've suggested to you oft times. Brother, I hope you're feeling better. Yes, when you mentioned your attendance, it made me very sad from the high school. Because in Millard, and Lindsay, I don't know if this is the way it was when you were here, if you have 98% perfect attendance, they give you a car.